Are you a filmmaker working on an idea but have no clue where to start? Have you ever wondered about how to go from having a jumbled cloud of ideas in your brain to one cohesive vision? Well, this video is for you. My name is Khani. I've been directing narrative films for just about a decade now. I've completed feature films, short films, and worked on an editor for a series and commercials. And so this is my step-by-step director's guide, my playbook on how I approach directing, to how I find my vision and how I build my pitch deck. So the starting point for me is to write the script. So I do have these steps listed out. They're all going to be chapters if you want to go to anything. They're not necessarily in order. Some of these steps are overlapping. Take from my process from what you can and what you can learn from, and just let me know in the comments if anything helped you specifically. The starting point for me is to write the script, like I said. For you, if you aren't writing it, if you're brought on as a director, I still think you'll still need to do some of this stuff regardless, which is study the script, and the first step is to dream. Denis Villeneuve talks about this a little bit. If you're not writing the script, you need to read the script over and over again, and then you just need to dream. You just need to live with the script, disconnect with any social or any sort of digital thing. You kind of want to live in the real world, just exist. I go for a lot of runs. I know people go for drives or they go for bike rides. Just let yourself just think and let your ideas bounce just naturally, and think about the script, think about the scenes, just kind of whatever pulls you naturally, and just start thinking about it more and more. The next step for me, this is probably the most important step, is finding the emotion. The emotions can exist inside characters, they can exist inside scenes. For me, the characters is a real easy way to explain. For me, in Midnight Dreamers, there's two brothers, and the younger brother's name is Omar. So I used to have a childhood friend, and I associated innocence and naivety to that childhood friend. I took my character of Omar, and I placed my feeling I had of innocence and naivety with my childhood friend, and I bridged those two together. So in my head, when I think of the character of Omar, I think of my childhood friend. And as a result, for me, this character goes from two-dimensional into something that's real, where now all of a sudden he has a deeper layer, and it's not something fictional anymore. It feels a lot more real. It feels a lot more like organic, if that makes any sense. A real example for how this might help in filmmaking is, let's say you have a scene where there's a shooting outside the house, and you have characters that have to go outside the house. But you made them real, and now all of a sudden they're antisocial. And so in your head, you're like, they wouldn't go outside the house. This character wouldn't step outside the house. He would need an extremely strong reason. And so all of a sudden now you have to rework your scene. And to me, that's the best way of curating moments like this, is when the characters become so real that it stops feeling like you're writing them into decisions, and they're just naturally making decisions. Once you kind of have your central emotion for your characters, the next step for me is to write backstories, deep backstories. None of this stuff has to come through inside the script itself, but it's kind of like the step B to finding the emotion and making these people real, is to really flesh out a backstory so they feel a lot more real, and a lot of their decisions can be deeper understood for you and cemented inside something that has a really strong base. This is the process where they go from feeling two-dimensional into feeling real, when they have the deep backstory and each of the characters have a real emotion that you can associate them with. I want my stories to have a real reflection onto the reality that I kind of grew up with, the people that are around me. And as a result, this is my best way I can naturally do that, is the association. Now, the next step for me is to just dream some more. Now all of a sudden you're living with these characters, and you're just thinking about these characters. Think about these characters, think about them like the real people. Just spend some time. As you think about them, it almost feels like you're hanging out with them, in a sense. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm at the point now where I'm writing my next script, and I have the big idea, and I have a lot of what the characters are, and I've just associated them. And so now what I'm doing, I could start writing, but I really want to spend some time just with them. And as a result, I'm hoping that the more time I can spend with them, the more real they'll feel, and then the decisions they'll make will feel real and not fake. So during this part of now dreaming, one of the things that I also do is create a playlist, a musical playlist on Spotify or wherever else you want to create it. I don't really like to do different playlists yet, but I have one big playlist, and it doesn't necessarily have to be okay, it has a through line, but as long as it has big chunks of this is the music that is really going to help me here in this action scene, or this real tense scene, or this horror scene, or whatever it is, because these are feelings that I really want to somehow add to my film that I feel like fit in. And so I'll start doing a lot of that, and a lot of this stuff really helps me write as well. And as a result, the big thing that this big playlist will help you later on is I've also found that creating like smaller playlists for different heads of department or different characters or different actors also really helps. A lot of actors really like playlists as well. So you can then go from your big playlist into smaller playlists on specific songs that you're like, hey, listen to this, this, and this, or here I created a playlist for you, check this out. But a lot of that work is almost built from this point where you're creating this like large, big playlist that's more for you as a writer and a storyteller. So once you're at this point of the development, I think now is the time to go into the world again and start to like look at images, look at films. You don't have to necessarily even watch the films. You can just go to Film Grab and start looking at films that you think you were inspired by anyways, and start seeing their images, start seeing their framing, start seeing what catches your eye. Something that I also do throughout regardless is on Instagram, I start bookmarking stuff regardless, whether it's certain kind of shots, certain kind of music compared to some imagery, certain kind of framing, and I'll start bookmarking stuff. And then once a week, I'll go into my bookmarks and I'll start putting it on a database on Notion. I just started doing this. And I found that it's easier to go back into like a database or like a Google Sheets that you could create, that you have everything organized and be like, hey, this is a shot that we could use for this. This is like a song that we can kind of find something similar for, or whatever it is. That's kind of easier to kind of work with than going into your bookmarks on Instagram. But bookmarking stuff is easier, especially if you're doom scrolling or whatever it is. That's the only real benefit of doom scrolling, in my opinion. Occasionally finding shots or finding things and you're like, oh, that's sick. I can definitely use this kind of like fast push in or whatever it is that's contrasting with whatever. You know what I mean. You don't want to start making your deck yet. You just kind of want to have like a big database of images, of music, of shots, of a lot of different ideas, and they're all like one big like glossary in a sense. And you can organize it however you kind of want, but you're kind of like building your language up of ideas and things that you can reach out and you can pull on. And then once you have your database that you think is like pretty thorough, then you can start building your deck. The biggest thing to know about the deck though is it's not a mood board, it's a pitch deck. The pitch for you might not necessarily be funding. It could be you're pitching it to other creatives so that they can lend their time to you, creatives that you respect. A good example of like a pitch that I think is so different than how modern people consider even pitch decks or pitches in general, which is the pitch for The Boys. I read it recently. It's like a one-page just writing. And honestly, if someone gave that to me today, I would be in. I would be in. That pitch is incredible. And so something to note is that sometimes you don't need all the visuals. Sometimes those visuals can come later on, but sometimes all you need sometimes is just one page of writing, especially if your hook is strong enough. Just kind of know that you can toe the line between. Sometimes people really go into the visual side of things, which can feel lazy and can feel very like loose and super intangible because it's just a bunch of images with no real through line. Something to note as well is a lot of the images now that you'll start using in your deck, what I recommend is creating a sort of visual consistency. So we're doing a short called 2086. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it's going to be black and white. And so one of the things that I'm doing is a lot of the images I'm pulling up I'm changing them all to black and white, regardless of whatever I mean. Like, so the idea is like you can see whatever we're pulling. It's like there's a visual consistency. The film's going to be black and white. You don't have to even know too much about that. So the visuals have like one sort of tone to them. Like the pitch deck can have a whole bunch of things on it, and each pitch deck is different. It just depends on what you need. Most pitch decks, what they'll need is like the title, the budget, especially if you're looking for funding, the characters with small bios, the world, the art. Now the art can be divided into multiple different segments. So you can either just do, if it's like a small short, you can all just be one thing. But if it's like a bigger short, or you have multiple departments, or you're sending it to multiple different art people, maybe you want to divide it into like costumes, production design, color, thing that'll give like a decent sense to it. Or if you just kind of want to do the first pitch deck as just art, and then as you go deeper and deeper, you have like a separate pitch deck that's more closer to like a mood board that is just designed for like, hey, this is the costume design deck, and we're just gonna go through it, and then you divide that into further. This video was inspired by the idea of I wanted to do a short film on this channel, and I wanted to be very transparent. We're gonna do a $0 short. It's like a one day, it's like a couple minutes, like a scene from like a feature, or what I'd imagine a feature would be. It's a sci-fi short, it's called 2086. I created a deck for it, so if you want that deck, you can just join the email list, and once you join the email list on Substack, the intro email is gonna have a downloadable link to that deck, and so you can get access to that and see what I'm doing. That deck is part of the idea of, I really want to have like this big transparent process. We're gonna do a whole bunch of content around this video. This is one of the video ideas that I had. The other video I had was like how to edit like a small short, what that process looks like, what the location scouting process looks like, and you get what I mean. I really wanted to do this so that I can do this hand in hand with some of the video essays I'm doing and see what is more of interest to you guys. Because I'd rather do like 12 of these in the year than do like a whole bunch of video essays, if that makes any sense. Because I'd rather make more things. So if this is something that interests you, leave a like, leave a comment, and share this video. And the other secret update is that Midnight Dreamers, the trailer, is releasing in September. And so if you want to see that early, the email list is another thing to join. We're going to be sending it to the email list a week or 2 weeks before everyone else. And if you want to see anything behind the scenes of Midnight Dreamers or the process or anything like that, a lot of that stuff's all going to be on my Instagram. So follow the Instagram, join the email list, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Later.